talked about sealing, and after you get the seal and we get Brian to the mid post or right on the lane line, then we can start talking about some offensive strategies. Before I get into that, one thing that we see a lot is if the screen is not at the mid post spot, then it's hard to break down the defense because you're limiting your options. Brian, bring your screen to the low post, please. If Brian sets up his screen here, we're limiting our options. Brian or myself as the shooter behind the screen don't have the option to roll in baseline because we don't have enough room. You guys understand that? Everybody understand that? If Brian's screen is at the elbow, we're limiting our option because we have an offensive player at the free throw line, which means a defensive player at the free throw line, so we can't roll high. We don't have any room. So we want to make sure Brian's screen is at the mid post. Go ahead, Brian. Thank you. Okay, and then we're going to go back into what Dave Kiley was talking about a little bit earlier, is your positioning behind the screen. This is really important because you got to put yourself in a position to be a threat. And where we consider you a position to be a threat is if you're in a good line between Brian, the basket, and myself should be in a straight line. So the right spot if I'm setting up my screen, is going to be right about here. Okay, and we'll talk about spacing in a second. But if I line up down here, a matter of difference of 2 or 3 feet, okay, and I go to shoot, Steve can get out here, and we never had a pick and roll. We never gained any advantage. Does everybody see that? Okay, same thing if I'm high. If I try to take the shot here, Becca's gonna be able to get a hand on my shot. And I've only moved 2 feet. So you talk about wheelchair basketball being a game of inches, and that's exactly what it is a game of inches. So when you start your two-person game, you want to make sure you start in a straight line. If I set up right here to take a shot and Becca tries to get out, she can't reach me without giving up wheel position. If Steve tries to get out, he can't reach me without giving up wheel position. You notice what Brian's doing as a screener. We always talk about our screener having their foot plate facing the hoop and being right in between the two defenders. Okay, so he's in a position to be able to pick and then roll. Does everybody understand that? One of the key things that we see in juniors and even within college that I always talk to everyone about, whether you're a shooter, whether you're not a shooter, whether you want to shoot this shot, whether you don't want to shoot this shot, you have to sell the fact that you want to shoot that shot. What I mean by that, if I get back behind this screen and I'm in a great spot and I'm here and I'm looking around, I'm looking to see who I'm going to pass to next, the defense never has to move. I'm not a threat to shoot the ball. So whether I want to shoot this or not, I get behind the screen and I'm going to look at the rim. At that point, the defense has to make a decision. Am I a shooter or am I not a shooter? Does everyone understand that concept? Moving through that and looking at it, the space between myself and the screener is that very fine line of having too much space and having not enough space. And you as an individual player have to decide what that space is. Me personally, I can put the ball on the floor and go fairly quickly. So I tend to have a little bit more space because I can close the gap between Brian and myself pretty quickly. The goal is that if they're gonna stop this shot and we run a pick and roll, I don't wanna have enough space between myself and Brian for a defender to stop me. Does everyone understand that? So if I get back here and I'm a shooter, and I'm here, and Becca decides that she doesn't want me shooting that shot, and she jumps, and I'm right here, that's too much space. She can get between Brian and myself. Does everyone see that? So you gotta be ready that you get back here and you sell yourself as a shooter. When I see Becca coming, we're gonna work on our skills. What do we talk about? Dribbling, right? So I gotta be able to dribble right-handed because I'm moving away from the defender, outside, right hand, looking up, and I'm gonna drive away from the defense. Okay, does everyone understand that? Questions about that? Notice the ball's in my outside hand. Now Becca's got to make a decision. Is she going to keep chasing me to take the shot away, or is she going to rotate? For this instance, we're going to talk about her continuing to chase me. After you put yourself in a position to shoot, the defense decides that you're a shooter. Okay, I've looked at the rim. Becca's come out. I'm going to drive away from the side that the defense jumps. So I'm going to put the ball down with my outside hand. I'm going to take a push this way. And at this point, again, you as an individual ball player have to decide what's most advantageous for you. Are you gonna be able to drive to the hoop and finish? If you are, that's a great read. I'm gonna come off of here, I'm gonna drive hard this way, and look to either scoop or finish. And that's one of your options. And the thing you got to look at are the defenders. Steve's a pretty big defender. So if it's me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive away from Becca, okay? And I'm almost going to come a little bit flat. At this point, I'm going to square up to be a shooter right here. And I'm going to put the defense in a position to make a choice. Do they want to take the shot away from me, or do they want to take the shot away from Brian? Does everyone understand that? We're going to run through that both ways.
Do you want me to stay on the net?
Steve, come to me the first time, please. Okay? The way it's going to go is I'm going to get behind you. We'll go through it in slow motion. I'm going to sell myself as a shooter. Becca doesn't... I want Becca jumping. Yeah, I want you to stop me. Okay? I'm going to sell myself as a shooter. I look at the rim. Becca decides she doesn't want me shooting this shot. Ball in my outside hand. I'm going to drive. Steve's a big guy. I'm going to bring space right here. They made the choice to stop me from shooting, and Brian's going to get a roll. At this point, what did we work on earlier in terms of passing? Hook passing. If I come here and I say, hey, Brian, here's the ball, it doesn't work. Outside hand, eyes on the target, hook pass to his target. Everyone understand that? Okay, we'll run through that a different way as well. This time, stay with Brian. Behind the screen, I'm behind here. I take a look at the rim because I want to sell myself as a shooter. Okay, Becca's gonna jump me. I see her jump. I drive close enough that Becca can't finish, and at the same time, we're still gonna get the pick. Ball in my outside hand. I'm gonna drive baseline. Look to engage the defender. The defender chooses to stay with Brian. At this point, I'm a threat to shoot the ball when I make it. And I'm gonna knock down that shot from right there, but that's a shot that we're working to get because I don't have a defender on me. Okay, we're gonna run through that one more. We're gonna run through that a different way as well. So this time, the defender doesn't always jump from the high side. So you gotta be prepared. I'm gonna be behind the screen. I'm gonna sell myself as a shooter. Again, Steve wants to take the shot away from me this time. So Steve jumps from the low spot, which sometimes defenses will do. You saw me drive right, and I use my right hand. When I drive left, what hand should I use? My left. And when I drive left, I wanna keep my head up so I know what's happening. I drive here, tight enough that Steve can't guard both of us. Becca makes a decision. She's gonna stay with Brian. At that point, I'm gonna continue my drive through the paint and then finish that shot with the defender behind me. Any questions so far? Okay, now we talked about some shooting drills to make yourself a threat behind the screen. The scenarios that we just went through are scenarios as if that defender is gonna take that shot away from you. There's gonna be scenarios where they don't take that shot away from you, and you know, we have some handouts that we put, and in that last little paragraph, I talked about you have to decide about you as a player and you as a coach what your philosophy is. And I can tell you, me personally, I want to take shots that the defense gives us. I train my players to knock down this shot. If teams aren't going to come out and take a 10-foot shot away from us, I want my players to shoot. Whether they make it, don't make it, whatever percentage they shoot, I want the defense to know that I am willing to take this shot all day long. All day long, my players got the green light to take that shot. And that's you as a player and you as a coach have to decide what players you want to put in that position. Okay? So that comes down to coaching philosophy. And then as you go, you know, from this two-person game develops a lot more strategy. But to be quite honest, on the U.S. national team, men's and women's, I mean, I got Dave Kiley, the head coach of the women's coach, and he'll agree with me, your offense starts right here. It's going to start with a two-person game, and then you talk about where the defense rotates and where you swing the ball. But if you have players that are good at this fundamental aspect of offense, this offensive strategy right here, then you're going to be able to break down defense and get a shot that you want to get. Okay?